Hi, everyone. We are live. I'm Debbie Schwartz, founder of Road to College and the Paying for College 101 group, and I'm here with Marissa Medin. And Marissa is a frequent Facebook Liver with me, and she is the founder of Talk College to Me. And tonight we're going to talk about the Common App, things to avoid, but you can ask any questions about the Common App. And we're just going to give people a chance to log on. They're probably being notified. When you come on, if you could just say a quick hello, just makes me confident that
yes.
you can see us, you can hear us. Always nice to know where you're from, how many kids you have, what year your kids are in college, just so that we get a sense of what your situation is. And, so hopefully I do see people watching. Okay, great. Lisa has said hello. Hi, Lisa. Karen, hello from Arizona. Michael, hi. Great. Okay, good. Now I feel better, at least. Great. AJ from Seattle. Lily says hello. She's got a senior. Sophia's watching with her. Perfect. That's perfect. Kristen's from North Georgia. All good. So, Marissa, do you want to just give us, before we launch in, do you want to tell everybody where you are? Because I love, and what you've been doing for the past 11 months or so.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you, maybe you've been on some sessions with me before, maybe you're new. So my name is Marissa Medin, and I've been working really closely with Debbie on a lot of different Facebook Lives and different partnerships and opportunities. So right now I'm in Panama, in the country of Panama on an island. I often work remotely, helping all things with college admissions from afar via my computer phone, Facebook Lives, Zoom sessions, all the things. So I travel around and love to help with all things college admissions. So excited to be here tonight.
Great. Well, you know what? Before we get started, I'm going to put in the comments, this is a link. If you got our email, or if you saw our posting, there's a download if you want to download it, which just helps you kind of follow along with the Facebook Live, gives you a chance to write down some notes. So I'm going to put that in the comments if you want to. Oops, sorry, wrong link. Sorry, let me just grab it, guys.
Grabbing that, I can explain. So like she said, it's not, you don't have to have it or do it, but it's just kind of like a fill in the blank of the 11 mistakes that we're going to go over tonight, of just a place for you to kind of keep notes and things like that. So if you want to download it, feel free. And even if you want to use it for afterwards, after you take notes, I'll be sharing the slides. I'll give you a place where you can send me an email to get those afterwards. So if you're not taking notes, no worries, you can get that as well. But hopefully, I think you'll find some really helpful things you'll want to write down along the way. So even if you don't have this official little worksheet to download, if you have a pen and paper, it's super helpful, I think, to jot down the most important things as we go.
Great. I got the right link. Okay, so we're going to get started, everybody. We're sharing a presentation. You'll be able to see us and the slides, but if you want to actually make your Facebook screen a little full screen, that might be better. And feel free to ask questions along the way. I will try, if the question is appropriate, I'll kind of interrupt Marissa. If it's either too much of a question, or maybe I know she's going to get to it later, we might hold it, but by the end, we'll get to all the questions. So please be patient.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll leave plenty of time at the end of everything. I can hang for a minute and answer any questions you guys have too, so we can make sure you get all the questions answered. So yeah, we'll jump right in. So tonight, I know it's coming up while the kids are getting back to school. This is primarily for parents who have kids, just started going into their senior year. If you have kids freshman, sophomore, junior year and are watching along, that is fabulous too. And tonight we're talking about the 11 most common mistakes that kids make on the Common application. So the Common app went live officially on August 1st. So what's today? The 8th, so about a week ago. And I'm like, what day is it? About a week ago. So you are now officially able to submit applications, which is exciting. So we wanted to host this. We actually hosted this exact same session last year, and people found it super, super helpful. So we wanted to do it again for everyone who has seniors now, if you were a junior last year and didn't show. So yeah, it's really important as you log into the Common App, there's some things to make sure you avoid, and that is what we are going over tonight. So just a quick little bit about me. I think this might be an old version, Debbie.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, if you're able, I can tell a little bit about me if you're able to like take this one down and do the one from.
I am. I have it right here. That's really strange. Sorry about that.
An old version of it.
Okay, you continue talking. I'm
doing that. I just wanted to give quick little background about me so you know who I am and why you're even listening to me in the first place. So I attended the University of Michigan. I absolutely loved my college experience more than many, many people. And I started my business Talk College to Me because it is my greatest joy to help empower parents to then help your kids get to colleges and universities that are going to be the very best fit for them, that they're going to love, where they're going to thrive. And it's just my greatest joy. So I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years now, helping families with college admissions. So yeah, this is slide here. So that's me with my family. They were super supportive of me. That's me at graduation many years ago now. And yeah, I just absolutely love teaching you guys this information. I study it day in and day out. I have helped hundreds and hundreds of parents now at this point figure out this process. So excited that you guys are here tonight. So, oops, now I have an old one here. Oh, sorry, let me pull, okay, oh, perfect, that's it. Okay, so as I just mentioned, the Common App is officially live now. So I wanted you guys all to see, if you guys are feeling stressed about this already, type yes into the comments. And I ask you this because a lot of people, a lot of parents are already like, oh my gosh, like it's starting to feel the stress, it's becoming real. Everything you've been thinking about and working up to this point is now finally happening. And the fall of senior year, I know it's not quite fall yet, but these next couple of months, it's a lot to handle. The applications, all the essays, your kid is still trying to do well in classes and do their extracurricular activities. So it is a stressful time. So I want to jump right in now and talk about the 11 mistakes so that this can at least be one thing that you feel a little less stressed about. So mistake number 1 is listing activities in the wrong order. So let us know actually in the comments if you've seen the Common application before, type yes. Just so we kind of have an idea. And if not, you are not behind, you're not anything, just kind of curious to know. So when you log in.
Marissa, can I just comment? Somebody asked, is this recorded? So all the Facebook Lives are recorded. So, maybe you haven't, or your child hasn't opened up the Common App yet. That's perfectly fine. If you want to come back to this at another point and look at this Facebook Live when you have had a chance to become familiar with the Common App, you'll have that opportunity. So this is recorded.
Absolutely. And it's, I think you just kind of have a different visual idea of what I'm talking about if you've logged into the Common application before, but all of this will make total sense the way we'll explain it. And so you're not behind if you have not logged into the Common App or haven't seen it yet. And I think you'll find it's a really good next step to do after this. So on the Common application, there is a place for your student to list all of the activities. By all, I mean they only have a space for 10 different activities. They limit it to a limited number of space to do all the things that they have participated in over the last 4 years in high school. So what a lot of people don't know is that it's really important to list these activities in order of importance from start to finish. So a lot of people just kind of, it's like you have 10 spots, they just throw it in and just assume that, that's right. But it's really important to do the most quote unquote significant activity at the top as number 1 and then list them down. So
Marissa, what if a student has actually more than 10? Should they kind of do some pre-work before they even, figure out put it on the app?
Some parents might be giving us 10, we have so much more. And some parents are like, oh my God, 10, my kid only has 3 things, right? So
good point.
You don't have to fill out all 10, but you also can only fill out all 10. So if you have 15, you have to be selective about what you put there. And so the way to kind of figure that out are thinking about different items such as how many years have they participated? Was it just senior year or was it all 4 years of high school? How many hours per week or per month are they participating in? Were they a leader? Do they have any recognition or honors? Like what kind of impact are they making? So inside I have a course that I'll tell you guys about later, but I have a worksheet that literally helps you identify and quantify each of those activities so you can see really easily in order. Like if it's, you have a 29 points, like that's number 1, and then 27 points, that's number 2. And it's all based on these different, again, number of years of participation and how often they're involved in leadership and that sort of thing. So we'll talk about in another, there's an opportunity to kind of add more information through a resume, Debbie. If there's more than 10, that's kind of the workaround to get more in. So that's mistake number 1 is really,
you know what, Marissa, Lily has a good question. She's asking, is it better to only list a few really significant activities or should they try and make sure we add up to 10 that were maybe only done for a short time?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a bad thing to, if you have a couple blank at the end, you don't have to put 10 different things. So if there are things that you can fit in there, I say go for it. But it's like if your kid participated in this random thing for 1 hour, one time, and it's easy for a college to they can kind of read through that. If they can tell they're not really involved, for a long time or for multiple times. And if it doesn't really fit with their whole story of who they are and what they're involved in and, what they want to study and do one day, then, don't feel like you have to like brainstorm random little things just to throw it in. Make sure it's things that, are at least have been doing for several months or a year or are involved in. But that's such a great question. Awesome. All right. So mistake number 2 is listing unclear activities. So in that same activity list that we were just talking about, there's actually, so not only are you limited to 10 activities to choose, but it's also almost when you think about Twitter, like you're limited to characters. When you list the activities, you're also really limited to have only a certain number of words to fill in what is the activity and a really short description of it. So a lot of times, unclear, I'll give you a couple examples of what it means by kind of unclear versus something that might be known. So for example, let's say your kid was an intern at something called Alexander Research Society. So if you were a college admissions officer and you saw that, you might be like, what does that even mean? What is the Alexander Research Society, right? So you might say something like intern at Alexander Research Society, comma, a medical branch of the Center for Disease Control. And then in the description, you might say something like study the impact of sugar intake on cardiac disease, right? So you want to really briefly, because you only have so much space, explain what it is, what that, thing that they're doing is, if it's not totally clear for just any random person reading it, and then what they did, how they were involved there. And it's, again, I help teach this, but it's really hard to make sure you fit it in this little space. So another example of something that maybe wouldn't need as much description is if you were to say editor of school newspaper, right? If it's something like that, they would know. So you could say editor of Huron High School Daily Newspaper, and that's pretty straightforward. A college admissions officer would understand what that is. And then underneath, you'd still want to say, responsible for planning monthly issues or overseeing articles or something like that. So just to kind of get the idea of just the biggest mistake that people make is just kind of like putting whatever that that activity is, but colleges have no idea what that means. So make sure you're really clear here, giving like a little descriptor if it's not something like, a sport or a newspaper or something that's just really obvious. So that is mistake number 2. Okay, mistake number 3 is not taking advantage of the resume. So this goes a little bit back to what Debbie was saying a second ago, is if you have more than 10 items or activities that you want to add, this is where you can kind of find a way to put that in. Also, because you can only have, as we're just saying, those really short character descriptions of what it is you are actually doing at that activity on the actual activity list in the Common Application, on the resume, you have a lot more room to explain what you've been doing and maybe how your position and impact has changed over the years. So for example, maybe sophomore year, if we're going back to the editor of the newspaper, let's see, maybe sophomore year, your kid was the treasurer, and then junior year, they were the assistant editor, and senior year, they were the editor-in-chief, right? So on the common application and the activity list, there's no way for schools, you can't really show all of those different positions held and the impact that they made and the longevity of the roles that they've had. So the resume is a way, not all schools actually accept it, but often there is a place for individual schools to attach a resume option. And this is where, again, they really want to show what you've done over the years, all the different things that they've participated in. And it's just kind of like a cheap way to, like a workaround, not a cheat, it's an absolutely legal way, but it's a workaround to have more real estate and more space to really show how your kid has been involved in something over time. So inside of my course, I teach exactly how to write a really powerful resume and examples of what to include and what not to include, and the formatting and like a special tool to do it and that sort of thing. But the mistake that a lot of people make is not even taking advantage of this resume and not knowing that you can include this to show more detail than what's included in the activity list.
And Marissa, and I don't remember if I heard you say why. Maybe you give 2 seconds about why you actually, more than other people, might be very good at giving direction or instruction about resumes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked in the corporate world for a lot of years, and I do separate business recruiting and coaching as well on the side. So I learned, again, I studied business. I know resumes inside and out. I used to work at Pepsi and do recruiting for our marketing team at colleges to recruit MBAs and undergrads. So I've seen literally hundreds, probably thousands of resumes over the year and over the years, many years. And I'm really great at just kind of like taking it really quickly, showing exactly what you need, using really powerful action verbs, for every first sentence and how to show you where to find them and all of that. So yeah, I absolutely, I don't know why I get such a kick out of it. I love with resumes and job stuff and work stuff. And the cool thing that Debbie and I actually talk about is this can then be a tool that your kid uses to apply for internships, once they get to college or over the summer. It's something, again, a tool that they'll use throughout their life. And once you learn how to do it the way I teach, they can, get better jobs, get better internships, and continue to add and build to their resume over the years too.
Yeah, I was going to comment that, even if none of the colleges that your child is applying to wants a resume, which is probably going to be rare, your child should put it together anyhow. It's just a great exercise in pulling all their activities together, understanding what a good resume looks like. It's just, as Marissa said, it can be the start of and can be used in many things in the future.
Yeah, perfect. So type yes. I like to see you guys type along the way. So type yes if you guys can start to see how the resume is powerful. One, that's kind of like that addition to the college application. And then two, just a good tool for life. So you can start to kind of see how important that is.
So Marissa, there is a question from Catherine. She's asking, the activities you mentioned, can they be in school and out of school, like community activities?
Such a great question. Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Catherine, for asking that. So yeah, a lot of people kind of wonder about what is the definition of an extracurricular activity, right? So anything that is, it can be inside of school or outside of school, but basically the way I kind of classify it is anything that does not add to your student's GPA, right? So an extracurricular activity would not be, if they were in a science class and did an extra credit, studying of something outside of school that, was a bonus for their grade or just part of a project. So anything that counts towards their GPA is not counted as an extracurricular activity. That being said, there are still many things that kids do within school, such as clubs that they join or different, sports or teams or, again, yearbook or newspapers or playing of music, outside of things like those can all be counted, even if it's through school. And then, of course, anything outside of school absolutely counts as well. And then the other, give this little kind of like secret tip that I love. So many parents and students forget that an extracurricular activity can be something that your kid learns or studies completely alone. So we kind of have this thing in our head of, it like has to be part of a team or a group or volunteer or something kind of, it is great when you make an impact. But a lot of families and students forget to think that, like, is your kid spending hours on YouTube learning how to play the guitar by themselves? Or are they spending hours a week, writing poetry or a novel or learning photography or like learning to, I always say, like, I feel like kids are always coding online. Maybe that's something I make up, but whatever they're learning or doing in their spare time can absolutely count as an extracurricular activity too. So if you're thinking, we can only think of 3 activities that my son can put on there, but because he's, in his room all the time learning these things, right? Like, you can absolutely include those too. So that's such a good question, and thank you. These are all like things I teach inside the course, and it's so helpful to remember.
And Marissa, there's 2 more really good questions too. AJ and Jessica have a similar question, but it's basically how long is their maximum length the resume should be? Should they try and keep it to 1 page?
Yes. So I always say keep it to 1 page. So there's ways to kind of finagle that. You can write small, you can, change the margins of things. But if you think about, I tell people, even if you've had a job for, not 1 job, but if you've been working for 20 years, it should still be 1 page. So if they can fit that into 1 page, then your kid can certainly fit just their high school experience. So yeah, you want to, spend more of the real estate on the things that are really important, and the other things that they're involved in can be kind of smaller bullets and this kind of like extra space at the bottom, or there's ways that I teach that. But yeah, absolutely. Definitely keep it to 1 page for sure.
Okay. And Kristen's asking, and these are all really good questions.
Yeah, you guys are so good tonight.
Yeah. Her daughter's activities were originally broader when she was a freshman, and then she's basically figured out and she's focused on what she's interested in as she got older. But is that going to be considered a pro or a con? Like, should she be showing that she's exploring more, or is concentrating on the activities which are important to her interests in college better?
Oh, I love these questions. This is one of my favorite ones. So it's such a pro when, they start to narrow their focus on the things that they're really excited about. So something I always try to teach, leading up to senior year even, is there's this whole cliche that, you're supposed to be the well-rounded student and like do everything and try everything. And I tell students to be thoroughly spiky. So instead of doing everything, like, what are the things that your kid actually really loves, and how can they focus on that and expand that? So if you're thinking about the list of 10 activities, really focus on those ones that she's kind of chosen and spent more time. Like, those will likely be the ones that rise to the top of activities, 1, 2, 3, and 4, call it. So if you still have the space to include some of those other ones that she started with, you can still do that. And I think that it sounds like, what I teach inside my course, and what I teach any of my, one-on-one and group families of how to prepare for college admissions, is you want your kid to tell a story on their application. And so it sounds like your student has, picked this activity. She kind of knows what she's interested in, and that makes for a much better story of starting with that wide range, or casting the net to see what you like, and then you figure it out and you narrow it down, and that's really fabulous. So that's a good thing.
Okay, a few more questions, but I'm going to combine them together.
Okay.
So basically, Jennifer, Tatiana, Anita are basically asking, or I'm going to throw them out. Are all these things considered activities? So is starting a business considered activity? What if someone's doing paid work? And what about community service, volunteerism?
Yeah, guys, these are the best questions ever, I feel like, but we'll be here all night. There's so many good ones. So yeah, starting a business, working in a paid job, I think the other one was community service, any volunteer work, those are absolutely all activities. So even I think the job one is really important, because some families, some students are working, not full-time, but working after school and on weekends. They don't have time to sometimes do all the other activities that some kids have, the time and fortune to be able to do. And colleges know this. So it is absolutely wonderful and okay if your kid has spent time working or starting a business, or, volunteering and making an impact in other ways, and, make it part of their story. That's something you can explain on essays. I think that's really, really powerful when you tell that story the right way. So those all definitely, anything, that I think about, it's like, if it's not counting towards the GPA, and it's not, they're not sitting by themselves at home, or if they're not like home doing nothing, it's like anything else is free game to kind of include as an activity. So these are great.
absolutely last question on this topic. Then we're going to move on. And if anybody has more questions on this, we're just going to add them to the end.
Yeah.
But Juan's question is, in regard to the order of the activities, what if something is really an important activity, but it's kind of been completed? It's not as current as some other activities. Should it still be listed first or up at the top?
So this is where it's like, I don't know, I have like this whole kind of formula that I use where I assign like a point value to each of the different kind of like classifications that we talked about. So again, it's number of years they've been involved in it, the impact that they've had, the number of hours per week, and that sort of thing. So, if it's something a student has been doing from the time they're like 4 years old until sophomore year of high school, and they were so involved in it, but they just, for whatever reason, it ended or it stopped or whatnot, but like that, you somehow, based on my calculations, it still gets a higher point value than something that's current. I feel like it's not as common, so I guess it is a possibility that could still go first. Mostly, again, I'd have to kind of, if you wanted to talk or email me afterwards to let me know kind of what the situation is, I can give more advice. But typically you'll find that most of the things that are still present activities tend to get more of that higher number in my calculations because, if you think about just 4 years of high school, they're still doing it. It's probably more time. It's more relevant now. So, those are things where it's not going to probably be a huge make or break difference if it's number one versus number two, but just kind of things to think about.
Okay.
Perfect. So I like to throw this in here just because I know people are like, wait, how do we get the slides? I'm trying to write furiously. So if you want a copy of these exact slides with the 11 mistakes afterwards, you can, if you have your phone on you right now, just open it up and we can put it in the chat box at the end too. But just send an email to, so it's my name, Marisa, @talkcollegetome.com, and just put your first name in the subject line, and I'll see that it's from tonight right now, and then probably tomorrow I will send you a PDF copy of these slides. So if you're not taking exact notes or you just want to see this to remember, I will be sure to send those to you. All right, so mistake number 4 is writing generic essays. So I've been doing a lot of work right now, reading some essays from different families and things, and it's one that I absolutely love to do. And there's a lot that goes into deciding what the topic is and like really specific formulas that once you know them are really easy to write the essays. So again, in my course, I have 3 lessons that are like dedicated completely to the personal statement and then the supplemental essays and exact instructions on how to actually write those essays. But the thing that at least, I could spend a whole 1 or 2 hour session just on that. So I don't have time to teach it tonight. But what I want you to take away is not to write generic essays. And I know that's easier said than done. But the way I want you to at least think about it is your kid writing an essay that you could insert almost any student into? So a lot of times what students will end up writing about is like making the winning shot at the end of a game or working really hard, for a band to then put on this, the big show, or try to think of some other things, just, maybe running for a school, like school president or something like that, that it's kind of that generic story that is important to your kid, but it's kind of anybody could do it. So the way to break through that, I'm not saying they shouldn't write about sports or a winning game or, band or debate team or any of those things. But the way you make it not generic, the way you make it really special to your kid is tell specific stories. So I always say show, don't tell. So what you want, especially kind of the personal statement to tell in all of these, are things that you can't, things that a college admissions officer would not be able to see just by looking at the activities list or looking at the resume list. So I was teaching this to somebody last night, and the example that I gave was a student who had been going on bike rides every Sunday with their father for like 10 years. And he was learning how to like keep up and stay able to do this. It was his bonding time with his father, and he was trying to beat him and all of these things. So that's not necessarily like an activity that they might have put on their essay, on their application and the activities, if that makes sense. But personal statement should really show like what is what does your kid value? Like, what's a specific story? So even within the other example I gave was, if you're writing that band story, right? Like a million people might write, we're practicing for this big exhibition, and then we did really well and we won, right? Like that's a common story. But instead, even if that's the story, your kid might write about being how being part of band helped them overcome their shyness, right? Like maybe they were afraid to put themselves out there, participate, and by practicing and being part of this group and then winning this exhibition, they actually were able to bring that to other parts of their lives and be more social, making this up. But so I just want to show that you can still use these types of storylines, but make it specific to your kid. So again, I could literally spend hours about this, and it's really important to understand the certain frameworks. But again, if you take away anything, just try not to keep that really generic storyline. Give really specific stories that are, couldn't be replaced by anyone except for your kid. All right. Okay, so mistake number 5, and I've kind of hinted at this a couple times, is using precious space for repetitive information. So there's several different touch points across the application that your kid has to tell their story. So that's the resume, the activity list, the essays, and then, so we've talked about those 3, and then the letters of recommendation are kind of another part, as well as college interviews, which not every school has, but that's kind of another opportunity. So I always tell people, if you could just call up a college admissions officer and just tell them your story and tell them who you are, like that would be great, but that's not how it works. So you have one application to send to a college admissions officer for them to understand your kid's story. So a mistake that a ton of families or students and families make is they have the activities list, and then their resume is an exact copy of everything that's in that activity list, and then the essay talks about something that they put in their main part of the activity list, and they're like, okay, you're kind of seeing the same thing 4 or 5 times. So instead of that, that's where I kind of gave that example of biking with dad, right? Like that's not on the activity list. So how can you use each part of it to, the activities and the resume to show what you've done, but then those essays and the letters of recommendation and the interview to then show other parts of who is your kid, what makes them special, what are they excited about, what do they love, what do they value, who are they as a person. So you really, when I think about it, it's like I think of different, 5 different parts of the application, and you want to make sure that they are all kind of being used for a different purpose to give as much information about, why your kid is special, because every kid is special, and it's, you want to show that you are special throughout these different places and not just say the same thing over and over again. So that's a big one that a lot of families and kids just don't even know, they don't think about. So I love that one. Okay, mistake number 6 is not answering all supplemental and optional questions. So this one seems kind of straightforward, but when you log into the Common App, and I know not everybody has yet, but what you'll see is that it's called the Common Application because there's one kind of main part. I think about this as like the generic parts that your kid is filling out: their name, their education, and parent information, and their scores and their grades, and the personal statement. So basically all the things that pretty much any college across the board is going to want. And then in the Common Application, there's a space for you to add each of the schools that your kid is going to apply to. And within those, once you kind of click through, that's when schools have the ability to ask specific questions that only people have to answer when they apply to that particular school. So you have all of the common stuff that every school is asking, and then the individual schools might ask for 2 or 3 supplemental essay questions or other, kind of other short answer, or just kind of other information that they might want to know particular to their school. So a mistake that people sometimes make is not looking at all of those essay questions and questions that the school asks, and then last minute when your kid goes to submit the application right at the deadline, which is a mistake, you want to do it early, they haven't even seen that there's these other essay questions, and then you're scrambling last minute just to type something, and that's when the spelling errors and the grammar errors, and it's just, you don't have time to think about it. It's not as strong. So as early as you can, even if you're not sure if you're going to apply to, every school, add it to the Common Application so you can see all the questions that might be asked, and just make sure that your kid is staying ahead of the game and, writing out all of those supplemental essay questions ahead of time. All right.
This is a big one, but easy to fix.
Do you have anything to say about it, Debbie, before I jump in?
No. This is just, it's just an easy one to really take care of. So if there are errors or grammar mistakes, it's kind of glaring because this is so easy to kind of clean up.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny, I almost like debate putting this on here or not, because it almost seems it's like common sense not to proofread for spelling and grammar mistakes. But there's kind of two parts that I can teach to help that, because even when you don't mean to, they happen for these are the two main reasons. One is you're doing things last minute. So a lot of times I really preach, like the families that I help, to try to start writing essays like July if possible, but definitely starting in August, because even though the deadlines feel really far away, so, if you're applying to sometimes 8, 9, 10 different schools, sometimes more even, there's just a lot of different essays to write. So it gets really busy. No matter how much time you think you're giving, kids start to scramble towards the end. And what happens is, they write an essay and they might give it to you as a parent or an English teacher or someone to read. And, they provide feedback, and then last minute they're trying to put in the feedback and they're like editing a sentence, and then they've read it so many times over in this last days before submitting it that it's like you just can't even keep it straight, and you miss those glaring errors. So as early on as you can start, encourage your kids to start writing those essays now if possible. It really helps. That's one of the number one mistakes of why spelling and grammar errors happen. The other kind of little trick that I love to give, which I kind of thought was everyone knew to do, and I have a lot of parents who are like, I love this trick, and that is to, a lot of people go into the Common Application and start answering things within that online software program for the Common App. And what I really recommend to do is open up a separate Word document or a Google document, whatever your kid uses, and copy and paste all the questions that they're being asked for any the personal statement, any supplemental essay questions, any short answer questions, anything they have to type out, even that activity list, which people just kind of start typing in, write those on a separate document so that you can see the spelling errors, you can see it all together. And then once you're sure it's ready, it's done, there's no errors, copy and paste that into the actual application. And then before submitting it, there's actually an option to review it as a PDF. So once everything is submitted, try to do it early and then take a step back, wait a minute, a couple days, a week if possible, download that PDF and then look at it together, both your kid and you guys, with fresh eyes, and just make sure that there was no weird things when you copied and pasted it over to the new, into that, you maybe forgot to highlight a letter or a word or something. Just make sure there are no spelling and grammar mistakes. All right.
Christina's asking a very interesting question. She's saying, should I get the Common App early as a junior to start looking at how it's laid out, the questions, etc., just to become familiar with it? My child's a rising freshman. So basically she's asking, even if I'm a family that doesn't have a rising senior, but I have a student in high school, should they be looking at the Common App just to get familiar, to see what it's like?
Yeah, that's such a fun question that not many people think to ask. And I say 100,000% yes. So there's I always mess up quotes and I love them so much, but there's something about a quote that's the biggest fear that we have is fear of the unknown. So what I always tell families to do, even truly freshmen, sophomores, is create an account for the Common Application. You could use you as a parent, you can use your own email address, your kids, whatever you want. And then go in and just look at it, because what happens is, parents of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and even seniors now, this application feels like it's this big, scary, unknown thing. And you're like, what is it? What does it look like? How do I do it? And when you actually go in and see it, it becomes more real and more tangible. And then as your kid is preparing, throughout school, throughout these years, you just have a better idea of what you're actually going to be filling out one day. And it just becomes way less scary. So I think it's a fabulous idea and I would recommend it to anybody. So great question. Okay, mistake number 8. I kind of hinted at this a second ago. Again, I always want to leave these out, but then I have to do it because this really does happen. So mistake number 8 is missing deadlines. So each school sometimes has different deadlines for early action, early decision, rolling admissions, even regular decision. So again, inside of my course, I teach in great detail what those deadlines actually mean and which might be the right one for your kid. But the important takeaway for this, and that takes a while to explain, but the important information for this is create an Excel sheet or a list or on a piece of paper, whatever works for you and your family, and write down every single deadline, both if sometimes there's different financial aid deadlines for each school and each application deadline, so that you know when it's coming. And then in addition to just maybe forget, you might not realize that it was due 2 weeks ago, even when you know the deadline, I always tell people to make it's called, quote, false deadline a week earlier, because true story, the Common Application literally often crashes in those minutes or hours leading up to those deadlines that are really, there's hundreds of thousands of students on this website submitting it last minute, where they're like, oh, maybe I'll just apply this.
And it's really not a joke. That happens almost every year. There's some technical problem towards the end that, prevents students from uploading at the last minute.
Exactly. And so these are things, it's maybe the admissions officers will understand and do it, but I would never rely on it. These are sometimes really serious, hard deadlines, no matter what happens. So if you create just that false deadline and are working towards a deadline a week earlier, 3 days earlier minimum, it just kind of gives you peace of mind. You're not going to be stressing last minute that something crashes. And then that way, if anything happens, you can reach out to the admissions officers and things like that. So that's a good one. All right, so mistake number 9 is forgetting to check if all documents have been submitted by third parties. So what do I mean by that? So there's a couple things. So, you or your student is on the hook to, submit their Common Application, but there's a couple other parts that other people are responsible for. So the first are letters of recommendation. Those are typically done by teachers, sometimes a few other people too. And, a lot of kids just assume they've told their teachers it's up to them to get those applications in or those recommendations in on time. But teachers are, 1, busy, and 2, often submit letters of recommendation for many different students. And sometimes there's just errors, they think they've submitted it and they haven't. So on the Common Application, there's a place where you can see if those teacher recommendations have been received or not. And if you see that they haven't, and I say give the false deadlines, tell the teachers you'd love them to submit it by this time too. That's when you're trying to have everything submitted together. And if you see that they haven't submitted it, it's totally okay to reach out and ask. And they might say well, I thought I submitted it. And it might be the school didn't receive it or they didn't do it, but make sure that's done. The second is the transcript. So typically your school has a guidance counselor or a college counselor that's responsible for sending those, but just double check and make sure that they have. And then the third, a lot of people don't know about, and I teach in my course exactly what to include, but you have to often submit a mid-year and end-of-year report of the grade. So, if you're applying in October, November, or December of the first semester of senior year, those grades for that semester won't have been completed yet. So often you submit the application, and then afterwards you're actually required by the school to submit those grades and some additional information after the actual application has been submitted. So a lot of families just assume it's okay, the applications are in, that's it, we're done. But there's actually some steps they teach that you have to take afterwards. So just to be mindful of these things.
So Marissa, let me just read what Cheryl wrote, because it just reinforces what you just said.
Okay.
Number 9 is an excellent tip. My nephew's counselor never submitted his part and blew one of his college applications.
That is so wild. I know, it's I say this again, these are all things that sometimes they seem obvious. I don't need to tell people, but these are real things that happen. So you said that was Cheryl, I think you said was the name.
Yeah,
so
Cheryl, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. It's just another touch point that it really, you have to, I almost think it's with doctors, right? It's they do everything they can, but you know yourself best, and it's up to you to make sure you get the best service and everything that you know that you need. So don't feel bad about double checking with a guidance counselor, a college counselor, or a teacher because you think that they, are on top of it. They've got a lot going on and it's probably not purposeful, but you are responsible for your own part of this process. So just make sure to tie all those loose ends.
So Cheryl is saying, my daughter has the same counselor. Eek, but at least now you know to be on top of that counselor.
Exactly. And we'll give you those list of things to make sure happen. So thank you for that example.
Christina is asking, teachers are always being asked by students to write recommendation letters. Is it better to ask a coach, or a sports coach, or a scout leader?
Great question. So typically, I would look at what each school requires. So a lot of times schools, even if you get a coach in addition to some teachers, a lot of schools might require you to have at least one or two teachers, academic teachers for your kid to ask. So even if they have a lot, it's totally okay to ask them as well, and then ask a coach in addition to that, or someone else who might know your kid in a different sense, because in addition to the academic side, a coach or a music teacher or a theater teacher or something like that might just know your kid in a different way and have different things to say. And then again, inside of my course, I give some examples of what to do, but it's really helpful to actually, because teachers are so busy and are writing so many, you can actually provide a piece of paper that has some specific details that I teach about what your kid is, why they're applying to college and what they're hoping to do, and kind of that story they're hoping to tell, so that the teacher can take this really specific information. And it's so much easier I know it seems over the top, but teachers are actually really thankful to get these little packets that I put together, because then, they have so many students, they can say, okay, I get it. This is what the student is trying to say. This is how I can add value, and they can write a much better recommendation. All right, so mistake number 10, I always love this one, I don't know why, is using an inappropriate email address. So you would be surprised how much this happens. I always tell people, if possible, to use first name dot last name at Gmail, AOL, Yahoo, whatever it is, .com, just to keep it simple. You don't want soccer boy 202 or something far more inappropriate, who knows, but people kind of just, it's like the emails they've been using and they don't even think about it, but make it an official, nice email address. That's all.
You know what, Marissa, let me tell you my quick story. This is actually very important, because my own son, and I have a son who's going into 11th grade, and so he hears this stuff all the time. And this past year, when they took the PSATs, they made all the kids sign up in school with their college board account, and he wasn't even thinking, and he used a good email address, but he used his school email address. So it was clean, appropriate, all that type of stuff. But the problem was that because he used that email address, all the marketing emails were going to that email address, and he couldn't differentiate his school, the emails he needed for his schoolwork versus all the other emails. So I just say that I wouldn't even have your kids use their school email, because you really want to isolate all of this college stuff to a separate email.
Yeah, and some people even create separate email addresses just for
applications versus the marketing. I don't think that that's a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly. Or even just for the college stuff, and you can stop using it after senior year, you're done, and that sort of thing, because it can get overwhelming. But yeah, it's funny how these little nuances make a big difference. Yeah.
So Catherine has a question. I think it's from the comments before about letters of recommendation. Can you give in more than 2 letters of recommendation?
Yeah, so it really depends on every specific school. So again, that's why as soon as possible as you can, to go inside the Common Application and add those schools to the list of schools, even if your kid's not positive they're going to apply yet, add it to the list within the Common App, because once you go into it, you'll see really specific instructions for schools. So some might say, submit 1 letter of recommendation and absolutely no more, or 2 and no more. Or they might say, submit at least 2 and up to 5, or 2 are optional. It's everyone kind of has different instructions. But the point is, stick to what they say. So if a school says 2 teacher recommendations and absolutely nothing else, and you submit 4, it's all right, well, they can't follow instructions. They can't even do this. So really, really pay attention to what they ask and what they allow, and follow those instructions.
So AJ has a question, and I did think of this, AJ, and so let's talk about this a little bit. He said, doesn't having a different address, an email address, cause problems with the college's CRM and tracking of like demonstrated interest.
I was like hesitant to say it too, because I start teaching that from, early on. So what AJ is asking about is called demonstrated interest. So not all schools track this, but a lot do. And what happens is, if you've gone on college visits, you've visited the campus or gone on tours or signed up for newsletters or webinars for the college or something like that, some schools want to know how much your kid has been interested and actually done these activities with their school, and they track that by the email address. So if your kid visited all of the campus tours and used their school email address, I suppose, and then go to fill out the application, use this new email address, they won't know it's the same student. So if you're already very far down the line, and you've been signing up with a different email address or a certain email address for those campus tours and things like that, as long as it's not like an inappropriate email address, it's a good idea to stick with that one, even if it's not like first name dot last name. So that's a really good question.
Sarah is asking, if a college has an early action date and then an early decision date, how do colleges know which one you're interested in? Is there a section somewhere to indicate that in the specific school?
Yeah, great question. So within the Common Application, it's very clear there's a drop down when you're filling it out for that specific school of which deadline you're choosing. So even if it was the same date, there's a drop down where you would choose early decision or early action or regular decision, and you would submit it. And so it's kind of classified in that way. Perfect. So yeah, we'll have more time for questions at the end and a couple more things to get through. But yeah, so mistake number 11, this is just the last big end of it, is forgetting to click submit. So I know it seems kind of crazy, but on the Common Application, sometimes you take so much time filling everything out, and it's like, all right, we did it, everything's in there, but you forget you actually have to like take it and send it. And by send it, I mean there's a submit button particular to each school within the Common Application. So just make sure that by those deadlines, and false deadlines preferably, that you are actually submitting that application. So that's mistake number 11. So where are we here? So perfect. So a question I get a lot of this afterwards is that, how can you become completely prepared to help your child have the very best chances of acceptance? So coming here tonight was really great. You're learning a lot of the mistakes to avoid. As you've kind of heard, there's so many different parts of it that I was like, I need more hours to even teach you this. I can't, I can only scratch the surface. So I taught as much as I can and packed it within the hour. But there's still so many parts to make sure, like how do you make sure your kid is writing all 3 of the different essay types in the right format and really following the right structure? How do you make sure they're telling that story throughout each of the 5 parts of the application? How do you make sure that they're applying to the right deadlines and really are just becoming the strongest possible applicant that they can be, and creating the right, text within the activity list and really writing a strong resume and all of that? So I can absolutely help you with all of that. So for anyone who is interested, I would love to invite you to join me inside of the 7-day college admissions crash course for parents, which is something that I spent over a year and a half creating. So it's all of the information that I teach my, to my one-on-one clients, all the things that I'm like, I don't have time to tell you right now, but are so important to know. And I put it in a way that is really, really simple from start to finish for you to have access to it. And it's all of these small recorded videos. So if you like the kind of style of this kind of presentation and me kind of talking along with it, that's exactly what it is. So they're broken up into little parts about each of the specific essays, each of the deadlines, how to write a resume, each one has its own little section with worksheets and helpful, even with the activity list of how to calculate those numbers and how to choose the order and things like that. So again, it's just 7 days, and it is spending less than 1 hour per day, which when you think about it, if you think about all the time that you've tried to learn all of this information, if you're searching blogs and the internet and like Facebook groups, it just gets really overwhelming. So I put it together in a way that just is really compact, straight to the point, everything that you need to know in a way that you're actually going to be able to get through it. And I say 7 days because I like to, just encourage you to do it and get it over with. But you have access to that course forever. So if you want to do, an hour one day and then you're busy for 2 days and you have 30 minutes, you can break it up and watch the parts that you just really need to get through. So just quickly, I want to just quickly kind of let you know what's inside of it. So it's all the dates and deadlines to complete, everything you need to know about submitting standardized test scores and the scoring, the essays, which are a huge, huge part. So I love to teach about this, and that's how to write the personal statement step by step, and each of the supplemental essays that you might be asked. Again, specific directions and examples for the resume, different honors and awards, where those go on the application, and the college interviews, how to prepare and answer and ask the right questions. Choosing the right schools, the number of schools, the deadlines, all of that. And then again, these application deadlines and how to really improve your chances. And then lastly, information about financial aid and scholarships. So how to win outside scholarships, how to apply for the different kinds of financial aid, and again, how to pay for school. So we're going to try to play this video for you. This is from a parent who watched this very same Facebook Live with me and Debbie a year ago and signed up for the course. So I just want to play a quick video of her experience, see how it works.
So I was looking for something that is very specific with the exact instructions, and I'll be honest with you, less reading and more practical advices, because I am super busy. I have a crazy work schedule, so I was looking for specific advices. I went a couple in my son's school. I went to a couple presentations, and I felt that it's just they don't give you enough details. They just talk, but there's no specific details. So when I signed up for this course, first I was skeptical. It's probably going to be not. I loved it. I absolutely loved it because it was straight to the point, very precise, very cohesive, and gave you specific information. And that's exactly what I was looking for. And also, you can do it anytime. Sometimes I did it like at midnight. Sometimes I did it during lunchtime at work. So I think it's been very, very helpful. And I'll be honest, after the course, we filled out Common App as pros, literally, because I used a lot of advices from the course. What I really liked, there was a lot of websites that I didn't hear about before, and I thought I did a lot of research myself before, so that was very helpful. We did even use their resume template that you recommended, and we created resume for my son. We also look at a lot of worksheets, and I'll be honest with you, what was also helpful for my son, who is already a senior, it was a couple of things that I wish I knew before when he was a junior. So I now have a 10th grader, so this is something that I know what he needs to do. I already told him we're going to do A, B, C, D, so that was very helpful. So I think the practical advices and something that is really you can take and apply really matters to me. And it's, like I said, it's very concise, so you don't have to spend like 100 hours on this. You really spend like an hour, maybe 45 minutes. And also, I didn't do it every day or every week as suggested. I probably stretched the course over like a couple of weeks, but I did on my own time, when I wanted, how I wanted, and I think it's been very helpful. I thought when I started the course, I was already can give advices myself, because I thought I did so much research, and I had a lot of information from my son's school, which does really good advisory for college, but still there's a lot of sections had maybe one or two or maybe more tips and tricks that I used, so I don't recommend to skip it. But you can if you want to, because you never know where you can see. Like I said, I thought, when I started the course, I was skeptical, probably nothing new is going to come up, but actually every section had something very practical and very important. So I loved it. Yeah, we already got to acceptances, waited for more.
Good.
Very exciting. So he's going somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Wonderful. Congratulations, and thank you so much.
All right. So I show you that just because I know often it's like I can tell you, but I know if you've never joined the course, it's hard to understand exactly what it is. But truly, I know every parent who goes through it is so grateful, and it's just so helpful. So I like to show you what the cost of a one-on-one college consultant typically is. So this is from CNBC, that it would truly cost about $4,000 on average, if not more, to work with a private college counselor, college consultant, one-on-one. I'm sorry. So the course that I typically sell for the 7-day college admissions crash course for parents is usually $997. So this is truly what I sell it for on my website if you go and look. And usually, even if I offer special offers, it's typically discounted to about $497 if it's a special group like this. But because I'm partnering with Debbie today, and I've done so much, and I know it's a paying for college group, and you guys are a really special group, I wanted to offer an even more special deal. So tonight and for the next couple of days only, it'll be till the end of the weekend, you can get the course for only $297. And if that even feels like a lot, you can also split it up into 4 monthly payments of only $87. So I say, if you think about that monthly, that's, one family outing to, somewhere like Applebee's if you're a family of 4. And truly, it's going to give you so much peace of mind. So I truly, honestly believe with all my heart is worth every single cent of this. So you can go if you want to join. There's a link below. We'll share it in the comments as well. But I wanted to offer another really special bonus. And Debbie knows I've done a lot of things with her. I've never actually offered this one before. So for the first 15 people who join the course tonight, you'll actually get an opportunity to have one complimentary, can't speak, review of your kid's actual personal statement. And I will do that personally. So the first 15 who join tonight, you can literally anytime between now and when the applications are due, send me your kid's personal statement. I recommend doing it earlier than later, but I will personally review the essay and give you feedback and comments. And I know parents find it so helpful. So truly, I charge $250 to do this, and that's almost the price of the whole course. So if this feels meaningful to you, if you're stressed about it, this is just a really special bonus for those who take action tonight and want to join the course. So that's it. So I say you've got 2 choices. Debbie knows I love the gift here. You can be parent A and be really nervous, go it alone, be really stressed all the time. That's likely how I know a lot of you are feeling right now as you're starting school and realizing the applications are open and due. Or you can be like the second parent here, parent B, who's very calm and relaxed. Learn about every part of the application through the course. You have me as a support system. You can email me. I'm not going anywhere. And just feel a whole lot calmer, like you're doing everything you can to help your kid. So that's it. The other thing is I do offer a 60-day money-back guarantee. So again, I'm super confident that the course will teach you what you need to know, but I know before you join, you just don't know what's inside of it. So I truly do offer 60 days. If you don't like it, if it's not what you thought it was, if you finish the videos and think it's not worth your time or your money, truly email me and I will refund your money. And I really mean that truly because I want it to be a really great decision for you.
So Marissa, how long does somebody have access? They have lifetime access. So if they've got multiple kids, they can just keep going back to it with their second child.
Yeah, exactly. So like Jana said, I think in this one and many parents too, they'll get it like right now. If your kid is a senior or other times, and even if you're a junior, you have this course forever. So you can always go back to it. Parents will go through it and then be like, I have a sophomore. And by the time I got to their senior year, I forgot how to write the essays. And so you have access to this forever for sure. And let's see the next slide. That's it. So I don't know if we put this I can't quite see the comments, but if you open up a new tab, if you're ready to join tonight, and especially to be one of the first 15 to join and get the free essay review, which is huge and so helpful, you just go to www.talkcollege2me.com/road2college, and you'll see it'll take you straight to a special cart where you can either choose the option to pay in full or the 4 monthly payments. And again, I'll email the first 15 people afterwards. You'll get those essays and you join. So as soon as you make the payment, you get access to the course right away. You'll get an email welcoming you in. And I promise you it is perfect timing when your student is ready to start writing these essays right now. Start getting clear on all of this, and you're just truly going to feel a whole lot calmer about this. And you do have that 60-day money-back guarantee. So that is it. Any questions?
Marissa, you have someone, Michael, who said he took the 7-day course and it was worth every penny. So that's a very good compliment.
Thank you, Michael. I love that. So glad to know, and thank you for sharing, because I truly know, like, you know, again, I offer this and I believe with all of my heart that it is so helpful for parents, but you know, you can only take my word for it. So Michael, I appreciate that for him to say, you know, parents, I always say, you know, feel free to email me, you know, I'm here to support you. And I really don't often hear that from many parents, because they go through it and it truly teaches you everything you need to know. Like, the answers are all there. It's everything I would teach someone one-on-one that I spent a year and a half putting together in a way that's just like step by step by step, exactly what you need to know, with all the examples and tools and resources. And yeah, you have access to it. So Michael, thank you for sharing.
So Marissa, Anita did have a question like earlier on, and
Yeah.
it was about, I think she heard you mention something about there being 3 essays, and she said, I thought there was only a personal essay and maybe an essay that was specific to the college.
Yeah, great question. So I break them out into these, I call them 3 different types. So the first, as you're right, is the personal statement, that big one that students are really overwhelmed with. It's hard to write when you don't have the example, the specific framework that I teach. It feels really overwhelming. So that's the first. The second one is what I call the YS essay, or you can call it the Why Do You Want to Attend This College essay. So it's technically just one of the supplemental essay questions that a lot of schools ask, and it's usually kind of worded differently in like some sort of like hidden format, but they're asking the same question, which is, why does your kid specifically want to attend our college? Like, why are we a good fit? What do you want from us? And then the third, I kind of just group into other generic supplemental questions, which are, tell me a time that you faced a challenge or overcame an obstacle, or talk about diversity, or those types of other supplemental essay questions. And schools will write, some might require 1 essay, some might require 2 different ones. Every school is a little bit different.
So Marissa, Christina is asking a question, which is a fair question. It's related to buying the course. Yeah. And I think from an earlier question, she doesn't have a current senior. So she's asking, if I buy the course now, is it worth it for 4 years? And like, what would she do with the essay review, since she doesn't need that now?
Yeah, such a great question. So I actually, again, this was just like, because seniors are the heart of it, this particular session was kind of targeted towards that. But I'm so glad you joined. So I always, and Debbie's heard me say this a million times, I think this course is so helpful starting from the very beginning of freshman, sophomore, and junior year. The earlier you start, remember that quote I said, it's like the fear of the unknown is what's so scary. So even if you're not going through the essays and going through these things right now, I always say, get the course, watch it through, and you're just going to feel so much more relieved, because you'll know the roadmap. You'll have, I provide a specific timeline for each month for all 4 years of everything you need to stay on track of. So you can just like look at the month, look at the timeline, and know exactly what you need to be doing. And even if you just learn about the essays now, and you learn about all the different deadlines and how to create a strong essay and the extracurricular activities, it's really going to help you to empower your kid throughout all 4 years of high school to become a strong candidate in a way that's really authentic to them. I truly believe that. So definitely recommend it for any 4 of the years in high school. And then for the essay review, that's a great question. Maybe we could trade that, since that's not for a while. We could trade that out for just like a 30-minute phone call if you want to sign up, and I'll send me an email afterwards, and we can just do like a 30-minute phone consultation about any questions that you have right now. And I think that would be a good trade too. Okay, so it sounds like, Marissa, maybe you should follow with Christina later, because she did have another question about. She actually said, I bought it, so that's great.
Hey, and she had a question about the essay review, about when to do it. Yeah, sounds like a follow-up question. Okay, great. Any other questions? I think I'm looking back. I think we kind of got all of them as we went through, and there were a lot of really good questions. Oh, there were such good pinpointed questions along the way. I think we got to. So yeah, I'm super excited. I hope wherever you guys are in this process right now, that it was just really helpful, that you at least gained some a couple tips and helpful pieces of knowledge as you do this. Truly, I think the course is
truly, truly, truly can help you as you go through each step of this process. And even if it was like just to write those essays or just to figure out some of those deadlines or the resume, it's worth it in and of itself. And there's so many different parts and examples. And again, like calculating the point value for those, for the order of the extracurricular activities and all of that. So it's so helpful.
There are two more questions. One, Anita is asking, how long is the link available? So how long is this special for?
Yeah, so the special will be available until the end of today's Thursday, till the end of the day on Sunday, so like 11:59 p.m. or whatever on Sunday night. If you need to talk it over with a spouse or think about it, I know I always say, like, take the leap and do it. There's so many times where I've like needed to join or do something, and I'm like, but I'll get to it then, and then I just forget. And I swear to you, the people who have joined and just done it right away are the ones who take action and the ones who learn it and the ones who are so happy about it. So you do have a little bit of time, but then the bonus is just for the first 15 people who join tonight only. So if the essay review is important to you or exciting to you, and it is super valuable, like I offer a lot of value when I review those essays, then that's hopefully join tonight. If they haven't, I can't see with me right now. The 15 people haven't joined, I don't know.
So Catherine is asking, which is another good question to address. She has twins, so does she pay twice?
No, this one's good. So this course is, you just pay once. So it's not, I guess we'd have to talk about the essay review.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
So the course you just have, it'll be, all the information available for both of them the same. If you want to join tonight only, remind me the name, Debbie.
Catherine Norris. So, yes,
Catherine.
yeah.
So if you join tonight, just for this one price, I will do the essay review for both of your kids, because I know it's hard to navigate that. And Debbie and I have dealt a lot with twins. I know that's, let me see, Christina about it, I'm seeing some notifications. So yeah, Catherine, just shoot me a note if you purchase it, and I'll do the essay review for both. So that's like more than the course value just for the essay reviews.
Yes, we feel for the families that have multiples. And
yeah, we know it's a lot going on.
A lot to go through, yes.
They're all good questions. So I do have some notifications that we've had a couple of people joining already, which is super exciting. I always love these nights. So I'm like, so many people are coming and joining, and it's really exciting for you to go through this and to get this help. So I thank you guys all for joining, and I hope that you get this information and join the course.
Yeah, and it's great whether you're a family with a senior who is, who joined to learn about the Common App. You got a lot of great value, and I'm sure in the course is more value that's still going to be helpful for you. But actually, if you're a family like Christina, who maybe your kids are not seniors, they might be freshmen, sophomores, or juniors in high school, this is actually prime time to learn this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
wonderful.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm hopefully, I feel confident that you got good information tonight, and that if you want more, you can follow up with Marissa and her course. And we will have more Facebook Lives coming in the next few months. This is it's like the opening gates of college admission season, and it's going to get, hotter and hotter, or, people are going to have more and more questions, and we'll try and have more Facebook Lives to answer them.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you, Debbie, because I think you offer so much value, bringing so many great experts to your group to teach all different parts of this process. So thank you for helping everybody as well. And
no problem.
Tonight.
Okay, everybody. Have a good night. See you soon.